Another day in the fish room. We'll be focusing on this 40-gallon here, making some changes. We'll be checking in on some breeding projects we have, the celestial pearl Danios and the blue daisies rice fish, and we'll see what else we get into. These blue daisies rice fish have been in these 2 spawning tanks for about 2 weeks now, so I'm pretty confident that the Java moss is filled with eggs. I'm going to pull the adults out of both these tanks and hopefully we'll have fry in the next couple days. I'm going to be doing the same thing with the celestial pearl Danios. We have this Java moss that's been in here for about a week, and the adults right now are hiding in the back. There's about 20 in here, so I'm hoping that since this is the only spot for them to spawn in, that they were targeted right on the moss there, and because it's in a container, we kind of caught any that may have gone through a little bit. Hoping for a lot of fry with these guys. They're a lot of work, so I want to make sure I raise a lot of them when I'm doing it. Looking at this 40-gallon, it's one of my favorite tanks in the fish room. We have the Bosemani rainbow fish, originally from Gary Lang's line. I bought them as 1-inch fish and grew them out. You can see the beautiful color on them now as adults, and I've successfully bred them and I'm able to put them on the website. They're really popular now, so I've been trying to breed them. That's why we have the spawning mop in there. These Rosy Barbs in here were accidents. I had a barb tank at one point before I went on YouTube, was this tank here. But all these fish and all those plants and everything is getting taken out of there and rehomed at some point. But the fish I bought originally, the Rosy Barb adults, actually spawned in the quarantine tank, I guess on the sponge filter, because that was the only thing in the tank. And then all these Rosy Barbs in here were the tiny fry that grew up, and they've actually colored up really nicely. I really like them. And we have there he is, the archer fish here, 100% freshwater archer fish. Really cool. I got him when he was like 1 inch, and he's probably 3 or 4 inches at this point. I think the plan for this tank is to move the Rosy Barbs to a different tank. I tried in a previous video to put the spawning mop in here so that the rainbows would spawn, and I thought that would be less stressful for the rainbow fish, because the original spawn I had to catch them all out of here, freak them out, throw them in a 20, and then they spawned in the mop, then caught them again, then threw them back in here. I don't want to do that to these fish, so I tried to have them spawn on the mop here. Even the Rosy Barbs, I'm sure, would have spawned a little bit in there. And I was going to try to just take the mop out, put it in another tank, but I see in the morning the Rosy Barbs picking at the eggs in the mop, so I'm probably not even going to try moving this mop. You can even see them looking in it now. There, some of them. So I want to change that. I want to move those guys. This archer fish, I want to give him a bigger tank. And we also have, in this tank, we have super red bristlenose plecos that we got from Wild Fish Tanks. Been growing these out for a couple months now. I've got a nice male. I just put this pleco cave in last week, and he's already guarding it. I have to catch that orange laser cory that's been evading my net for probably a month, 2 months now. I moved all his buddies to a different 40-gallon, and he managed to hide, and I can never get him in this tank. With all the jungle val and driftwood and rock, it's really hard to catch him. So the goal for this tank is to have just the rainbow fish in here and the super red bristlenose in here. And that way the rainbow fish can spawn. You can see the color on that male right now. He looks really good. The rainbow fish could spawn in here, and I could just pull the mop out and not have to worry about stressing them out. The bristlenose will not pick at the eggs. Also, it's a problem in this tank with the Rosy Barbs and rainbow fish. When I throw Rapashi in for these guys, they just attack it. They love the Rapashi. It's hard to feed the bristlenose targeted because I want them to eat a lot so they spawn as well. I think that'll work out. I also want to move the archer fish because I have some of the rainbow fish that I spawned ready. I think some selected future breeders, because I want to have a bigger school of them. This archer fish will definitely eat them. They're about an inch and a half. Some of them are hitting 2 inches, but this archer fish, I'm sure he'd eat them. We have guppies on both sides of this tank, and before I put a divider in between to cover, he was always on the glass trying to eat these guppies. You know, his front lips there, they've healed now, but it was all rubbed and raw because he was constantly trying to eat guppies. So I felt bad, so I put the divider. I think he'll enjoy the 75 down low there. I think it's perfect for him because I could even get creative. This has the gap here from the top because the 75s are the only tanks not drilled. So I had to do the Select Aquatics Greg Sage method with the PVC pipe overflow. So I think I could get creative with some driftwood in this space here. Maybe put some crickets in and actually watch him shoot it down. And I think that would be super cool to watch. And I think he'll be really happy with the space upgrade. Got the Rosy Barbs out. Still looking for that orange laser, but I figured I'd share something cool. I was trying to wringing out these sponge filters, but the jungle valve actually grew into the sponge filter there. So I'm pulling really hard on it. It's really, you can see like the chains coming through the sponge filters. That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna leave this sponge filter. It's kind of dirty, but it's all right. The ecosystem is very healthy. I thought that was cool. I've never seen jungle valve do that to a sponge filter. Here's where the Rosy Barbs went. I think they look really good in here. I think I'm going to appreciate them a lot more. You can see I tried to add some plants here, and I said I was going to fertilize this tank more. I have been fertilizing a little bit. The problem is I think when I transitioned this high growth species over, it was kind of dying back a little bit, and I have like 1 million Malaysian trumpet snails in this tank. You could see them kind of on the wall there, but at night there's almost like no surface that doesn't have a Malaysian trumpet snail. And I think they just went to town on this plant because it was not dying back, but maybe transitioning from being pulled from a different tank, and they just ate it all, which is unfortunate, but we'll try something else. Maybe I'll just put more jungle val on that side and kind of just do a jungle val tank. But the angelfish we moved over in here are doing really good. I really like this tank a lot. I like that I have the background on it. And these Rosy Barbs hopefully will leave the angelfish alone. I'm pretty confident that they will. Got this tank all filled up, algae scrubbed. Looks really good now. Really, you can focus on the rainbows because the Rosy Barbs, I felt like they're so bright red orange that they kind of take away from the rainbows. I wasn't able to catch that one Cory that loves to hide from me. I'll probably have to lure him out with some food or something and catch him that way. He does come out with the rapashi. I'm going to give these guys probably a week and a half to spawn in the mop without the additional fry that I had selected as future breeders, just in case they decide, just because they're younger, that they're going to pick at the eggs for some reason. I get at least one spawn with just the adults in here. 2 days later, and we're already starting to see fry from the Blue Daisy's rice fish. They're very small at this point. You can start seeing some to free swim at the surface there. There's one there, and there's a couple hiding around the moss and up on the side of the glass. We got fry in both tanks, and I'm hoping that we have a bunch of them. Right now we're just seeing a couple because it's the first few days, but the rice fish have been laying eggs every day. So over the next few days we'll get more and more fry. Hopefully get a bunch because we split them into 2 tanks. And I'm going to run a little experiment here and see the different airflows that we got going on here. It's not on purpose, but I guess we can test it. These guys are getting a little bit more flow than these guys are, so we'll see if that makes a difference in the number of fry. That was another day in the fish room. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.